Have you ever looked in the mirror and seen a face that feels older than you are? A face shaped by worries you never asked for? This is the story of a girl named Sherry. Young, bright, hopeful, but standing at the edge of a life far more complicated than any teenager should face. Today, we dive into Girl in the Mirror, a journey of identity, responsibility, and the quiet battles fought behind closed doors. Sherry's life begins each morning with a moment of truth in front of her mirror. She studies her reflection, not to fix her hair or adjust her clothes, but to figure out who she is becoming. Her eyes tell a story of sleepless nights and heavy thoughts. Her parents are divorced, and while her father is rebuilding his life somewhere else, her mother is trapped in a world where sadness and fear keep tightening their grip. Sherry, despite her age, becomes the glue holding everything together. One morning, while Sherry tries to get ready for school, she hears her mother calling from the bedroom. The voice isn't angry, it isn't calm, it is trembling, like someone afraid of being alone. Sherry leaves her mirror and steps into her mother's room, trying to hide her exhaustion behind a gentle smile. Her mother attempts to look okay, but her eyes betray her, a fragile mix of confusion and worry. Sherry promises she'll return soon, even though she's running late. As she walks out the door, she carries her school books and the weight of her home on her shoulders. At school, the world feels different. Her classmates talk about movies, music, and weekend plans. They laugh freely, unburdened. But Sherry is somewhere else in her mind, wondering if her mother is safe, if she remembered her medication, or if another panic episode is rising. Her best friend notices the change, asking if she's okay. Sherry forces a smile and lies, just tired from homework. She prefers hiding her truth rather than risking pity or questions she isn't ready to answer. When Sherry returns home, she finds her mother sitting alone in the dark, staring into nothingness. The silence in the house feels heavy, like the air itself is worried. Kneeling beside her, Sherry asks what happened. Her mother explains she tried cleaning the house but suddenly felt overwhelmed, lost inside her own thoughts. Sherry holds her, fighting back tears. She knows her mother needs real help, but she fears speaking up. What if people judge them? What if they separate them? She keeps all this pain to herself. But the situation eventually reaches a point Sherry can no longer ignore. One evening, her mother begins talking strangely, mixing memories with fear, seeing shadows that aren't there, slipping further from reality. Sherry tries to calm her, but the panic rises higher and higher. And in that moment, Sherry understands that she cannot keep pretending everything is fine. Her mother needs support, and Sherry needs someone to help her carry this burden. That night, Sherry returns to her room, closes the door, and faces the mirror again. She looks into her own eyes and whispers, "Who am I becoming?" She doesn't see a carefree teenage girl. She sees someone forced into adulthood too soon. Someone torn between love for her mother and fear for their future. Someone slowly losing herself in silence. Sherry wakes up the next morning feeling like she didn't sleep at all. The night before had shaken her deeply. Her mother's confused words, the trembling hands, the fear in her eyes. Sherry lies still for a moment, listening. The house is quiet, too quiet. She walks to her mother's room slowly, afraid of what she might find. But her mother is awake, sitting on the edge of the bed, looking exhausted but calm. Sherry tries to smile, though her heart is heavy. She prepares breakfast, watching her mother carefully, wondering how long this calmness will last before another storm arrives. At school that day, Sherry's mind isn't there. She sits through classes without hearing a word. Teachers talk, students laugh, lessons continue, but Sherry is lost in thought. She imagines her mother alone at home, afraid, confused, or panicking again. The pressure inside her grows, like a quiet scream no one else can hear. During lunch, her friend tries again to understand what's wrong, but Sherry shuts the conversation down with the same tired excuse. She doesn't want people to know. She doesn't want pity. Most of all, she doesn't want her mother labeled as broken. Later that afternoon, something unexpected happens. One of Sherry's teachers asks her to stay after class. Her gentle voice and worried eyes tell Sherry that someone has noticed her exhaustion. The teacher says she's seen Sherry's grades slipping, seen her tired eyes, her lack of focus. She asks if everything is all right at home. Sherry freezes. This is the moment she has been avoiding for months. A part of her wants to open her heart and let everything spill out. But another part is terrified of judgment, terrified of losing her mother. With a trembling voice, Sherry insists she's fine and rushes out before the teacher can ask more. When Sherry reaches home, she finds her mother in the living room with old photo albums scattered around her. Her mother is crying softly, touching the pictures as if trying to hold on to memories that are slipping away. Sherry sits beside her, listening as her mother apologizes over and over for being a burden, for not being strong enough, for depending so much on her daughter. Hearing these words breaks something inside Sherry. She realizes her mother knows more than she shows. She knows she's unraveling. She's afraid of losing control, and she's afraid Sherry will stop loving her. That night, Sherry struggles to sleep. She lies awake, staring at the ceiling, telling herself over and over that things will get better, that her mother will get stronger, that she can keep handling everything alone. But she knows deep inside that she is drowning. She knows she can't keep lying to her teachers, her friends, or herself. The pressure is becoming unbearable. A few days later, the situation becomes impossible to ignore. Sherry's mother forgets something important, so important that it puts both of them at risk. It is the moment Sherry realizes that staying silent could lead to disaster. She can't keep pretending nothing is wrong. She can't keep hiding the truth from everyone. And she definitely can't keep carrying the weight of her mother's illness by herself. Heart pounding, Sherry decides she must do something she has feared for a long time. She must reach out for help. But the question remains, who can she trust? Her father, who has built a new life away from them? A teacher, who might take action she can't control? A friend, who may not understand the seriousness of the situation? Before she makes a choice, before she speaks to anyone, she goes once again to her mirror. She stares at her reflection. Tired eyes, worried expression, a young girl forced to become an adult far too soon. But this time, she sees something else. Not fear, not confusion, but courage. A small spark of courage she never knew she possessed. For the first time, Sherry understands that asking for help is not weakness, it is strength. And she knows she must act before things get worse.
The next morning arrives with heavy silence. Sherry wakes up before dawn, unable to calm the knot twisting in her stomach. She knows she cannot delay any longer. Something must change. Her mother is still sleeping, her breathing soft but uneven, as though every inhale is a battle against invisible fears. Sherry watches her for a moment, torn between protecting her and protecting herself. She quietly closes the bedroom door and prepares for school, carrying a decision she hasn't fully admitted even to herself. At school, Sherry feels as though she's walking through water. Every sound muffled, every movement slow. Her friends talk around her, teachers give lessons, but Sherry hears nothing clearly. Her mind is already somewhere else, rehearsing words she has never dared to speak aloud. She knows she needs help. She knows she must tell someone, but the fear of being misunderstood keeps tightening its grip. What if people think her mother is dangerous? What if they take her away? What if Sherry loses the one person she's fighting so hard to protect? During a free period, Sherry finds herself walking toward the guidance counselor's office without even realizing she made the choice, as if her body is moving before her courage catches up. She stops outside the door, heart pounding, palms sweating. She almost turns back, but then she remembers her mother's shaking hands, her confused tears, the moment she nearly harmed herself without meaning to. Sherry forces herself to breathe. And finally, she enters. The counselor is warm, gentle and patient. At first, Sherry can't speak. Her throat tightens, words caught between fear and shame. But the counselor doesn't rush her. She simply listens. Slowly, painfully, Sherry begins to open up. First, a few words, then full sentences, until the dam breaks and weeks, months, maybe years of worry pour out. She talks about the panic, the confusion, the episodes, the nights of fear, the days of pretending. By the time she finishes, there are tears on her cheeks she didn't even notice falling. To Sherry's surprise, the counselor doesn't react with shock or judgment. She reacts with understanding. She tells Sherry that her mother is not alone, that many people struggle with mental health challenges, and that help exists. Real help, safe help. The counselor assures her that reaching out is not betrayal, but love. Deep, mature, courageous love. Sherry feels the first spark of relief she has felt in months. Following the counselor's advice, Sherry meets with her father that weekend. She hasn't shared the whole truth with him before, afraid to disrupt his new life. When she arrives at his place, she is tense and reserved, unsure how to begin. But her father notices immediately. Her tired eyes, her nervous hands, the way she keeps staring at the floor. When she finally tells him everything, he sits in silence for a long moment. Not anger, not disappointment, just sadness. Sadness that he didn't see it sooner. Sadness that he hadn't been there more. Sadness for Sherry's burden. He promises her they will find help, professional help, and that he will support them both. For the first time in a long time, Sherry feels the weight on her shoulders shift. Maybe not disappear, but finally shared. Back home, Sherry's mother senses something has changed. She sees the seriousness in their faces, the careful words, the quiet concern. At first, she resists the idea of seeking help, insisting she's just tired, just stressed, just emotional. But then she looks at Sherry, really looks. She sees the exhaustion, the fear, the pain her daughter has tried hard to hide. Something inside her softens. For the first time, she admits out loud that she's struggling, and she agrees to get the help she needs. That night, Sherry stands once again before her mirror. But this time, the girl staring at her doesn't look lost. She looks brave. She looks stronger. The shadows in her eyes are still there, but there is light too. New light. Hopeful light. She realizes that strength isn't pretending everything is okay. Strength is facing the truth, even when it hurts.
The following weeks bring a slow but steady shift in Sherry's life. Her mother begins treatment, visiting doctors, attending therapy sessions, and receiving the support she has needed for so long. It is not an easy journey. Some days are good, filled with laughter and light conversation. Other days are weighed down by fear, confusion, and the emotional struggle of healing. But for the first time, Sherry is not facing those days alone. Her father checks in regularly, sometimes driving them to appointments, sometimes simply sitting with them to talk. Support begins forming around their small family like a protective circle, one built from truth, honesty, and courage. Sherry notices something else changing as well. Herself. She no longer wakes up every morning feeling lost in her reflection. Instead, she feels a growing sense of clarity. She begins to reconnect with her friends, participate in school activities again, and allow herself moments of joy she had once pushed aside. It feels strange at first, to live without constant fear gripping her chest, but she learns that it's okay to breathe. It's okay to smile again. Healing is not a betrayal. It is a victory. One evening, after a long but productive day, Sherry and her mother sit together on the couch flipping through a few old photo albums. But this time, her mother is calm, grounded, present. She touches the pictures gently, remembering the moments with a steadier mind. She apologizes once more to Sherry, not out of guilt, but out of love, thanking her daughter for her strength, her patience, and her willing heart. Sherry shakes her head, telling her mother that love is not a burden and that they are walking this path together. Later that night, Sherry returns to the mirror, the same mirror where she once saw confusion, fear, and a girl weighed down by responsibilities too heavy for her age. But the reflection staring back now is different. Her eyes are clearer. Her posture is stronger. She sees someone who fought through darkness, not by pretending it wasn't there, but by choosing to face it with courage. She sees someone who has learned that asking for help is not weakness. It is a kind of bravery that saves lives. In that quiet moment, Sherry realizes something powerful. The girl in the mirror has always been her. Not the frightened one, not the overwhelmed one, but the resilient one, the brave one. The girl who never gave up on her family, even when the world felt too heavy. She smiles softly at her own reflection, knowing she has grown, not just in age, but in strength, compassion, and wisdom. As the story closes, Sherry steps into a new chapter of her life, one full of challenges, yes, but also hope. Her mother continues her journey of healing, supported by people who care. Her father becomes the steady part of their lives again,